Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you how to create a shortcut to add a border and a caption to a photo. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So let me show you how to create a rather complex shortcut on your Mac that's going to do several things. It's going to place a border around a photo, and it's going to make that border with rounded corners. Then in addition to that, it's going to add a caption or some text to the photo and then create a new image from that. There are a lot of steps here, and the goal isn't necessarily to just use this shortcut as is. The idea here is to learn a lot of different things about using shortcuts and then use those parts in shortcuts that you create yourself. So let's create a new shortcut here, and I'm just going to call this border and caption. Now let's start off simply by bringing in an image and doing something easy with it, masking it so it has rounded corners. So what we're going to do is resize the image. Let's search for resize, and there's resize image. I'm going to drop that in. Let's resize the image. And which image? Well, we're going to click here and then select shortcut input. And then it's going to receive any input from, and we're going to change any, we're going to clear that to just images. And then we're going to resize it to 1280, a good size for uploading, by whatever the height would be if the width is 1280. And then let's mask it. So we look for mask image here. We'll use this one. I'll put it at the bottom. Mask resized image. You can see the line here takes the output of this, puts it right in there with what? A rounded rectangle shape. We can mask with different things. Let's use rounded rectangle, show more. Let's do a corner radius of 40 pixels. One last thing I want to do here is under receive images, if there's no input, we're going to change it to ask for. So we have a lot of options here. One is you can run this shortcut on an existing file that's an image, or if you run it by itself, it's simply going to ask for an image. I'll run it, and you can see it's going to come up asking for something here. Let's just select this image here, and now you can see the result. Notice how it's got rounded corners now, and also you can't really tell here, but it's now 1280 wide. The original image is much larger. Now what we like to do is add a border around this image. Now the way to add a border is a little counterintuitive. You don't actually put a border on top of the image. Instead you create another image that's a little bit larger than this image, and you have that be a solid color. Then you put this image on top of that. So a little bit of that solid color image shows around the edges. So in order to do that, it gets a little tricky. The first thing we want to do is we want to use an image editing app. I'm going to use Pixelmator Pro, but you can use just about anything, Seashore, Photoshop, whatever you want, and create an image that's just 1 pixel. So here I'm going to create something that's width 1, height 1. It's a tiny little image there. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to draw there. I'm going to set a color to black, opacity to 100%. I'm going to set the brush to basic, hard, like that. And now when I draw a black pixel. Now I'm going to do export for web, where I have a lot more control. The format is going to be PNG. You can see 69 bytes. And I'm going to export. I'm going to call it pixel.png. Now I've got this image here that's just 1 pixel. I can do Command I on it and see it's only 69 bytes long. Really nice and short. Now in order to include that inside the shortcut, I need to convert it to a string of characters using something called base64 encoding. And to do that, I can use a variety of different websites that'll convert images to base64 encoding, but I can also do it in shortcuts. I can create a temporary shortcut here, and I'm not even going to name this one. I'm just going to search for base64, add that, encode what? Encode the shortcut input. The input I'm going to say, ask for, in this case not just photos but files. Here I'm going to run this, select the pixel.png, and then it gives me the output. I'm going to use quick look here so I can easily copy that. Then back in my main shortcut here, I'm going to search for text, and I'm going to create a text action. I'm going to put it up here at the top, and I'm going to paste that in. So this is that little string produced from that 1 pixel PNG, converted it to base64. These are the actual bits in that file converted to a text string. I can now use that same base64 encoding here to decode the text from this, and the result will be that file. So by taking this text, then using this, we now have that file inside, embedded into this shortcut. And we now can use that to create another image. So for instance, if instead of resizing the shortcut input, I were to go into here, clear that out, and resize the result of the base64 decoding, make that 1280 by auto height, which since it's the 1 pixel by 1 pixel square, it would be 1280 by 1280, and mask that with a 40 corner radius image. What I get now is I get that. I've taken that 1 pixel, expanded it to 1280 by 1280, and rounded the corners. So what I want to do is do both of those things. I want to create an image from this 1 pixel that's a little bit bigger than the image taken from the shortcut input. So let me undo here to get back to where we're actually doing this with the input here. I'm going to make one change here. Instead of if there's no input, ask for photos, I'm going to say ask for files. You can do either one, but in this case now, when I select this, it's going to ask for a file. I can select this image here, which is just an image file on my desktop, and it will then resize it to 1280 and put the rounded edges there. Now all I need to do is take this 1 pixel image and make that an image that's slightly bigger than this one and put it behind it. So to do that, I'm going to get the shortcut input and I'm going to find the width and the height. Now I'm going to search for image details, and there's get details of images. I'm going to put that underneath here, so it's going to feed the shortcut input into this. What I want to get the width from the shortcut input. Then I'm going to do a calculation on it. So I'll search for calculate and I will put that under there and say width plus, and let's add 20 pixels to it. So the result of this is the width plus 20 pixels. Let's go and get image details again, and let's get the height from, and we'll select magic variable and use this file here. So get the height from the same file. Let's do the same calculation and add 20 to that. So the result of this is the width plus 20. The result of this is the height plus 20. Now let's move this here below this. So I'm going to move text there below and decode below. So it'll get these numbers first. Now it's going to create that 1 pixel image. Now let's resize it here, and let's resize the result of this to, and instead of 640 here, I'm going to control click on it, insert variable, select the variable, and the width should be the result of this calculation. 20 pixels greater than the width of the image. Let's do the same thing here. Insert variable, select variable, and the 20 pixels greater than the height. Now we have a black image that's the same size plus 20 pixels as the original image. Now let's resize that again, because remember we're taking the original image and we're making it 1280 across. So we've got the width and height kind of ratio correct. But now let's resize to 1280 times auto height. It's going to be the same size as this image. So let's make this image, instead of 1280 across, 1260 across. So shrink it just a little bit more to give room for the border to show around the edges. In addition, let's create a variable. So I'll search for variable and I'll set variable, and I'm going to create a variable that's going to contain that black box here. We'll call it new pic, and it's going to get the results here. So now new pic has a black image that's a little bit bigger than the resized actual image there. Now we just need to combine them. We're going to take this image here, the actual photo, and place it on top of new pic. That's called overlay. So we'll do overlay image. I'm going to double click to add it to the bottom here. So what we want to do is overlay the result of this, the actual image itself, on top, not of itself, but instead on the variable new pic on that slightly larger black image. Now let's click on the show more here, turn off show image editor, and instead we're going to position it at the center. Let's run this. And we can see the result here. You can see the picture has been rounded here and placed on top of this all black image there. So we get this border. Let's round the border itself so we don't get these corners there. So we'll do that with a mask here, mask image, and just before we put it in the variable there, after the resize. This is after it resizes it to 1280, we'll mask the resize image with rounded rectangle, and we can do a corner radius here. And now when we run it, we can see we get rounded for both the background that becomes the border and the image itself. Now, since they're different widths, it definitely pays to work with the rounding. So have a larger number for the border and a smaller number for the inside. So we could go here to corner radius and let's change that to something like 60. And now when we run it, we can see maybe that went a little bit too much. So we have to keep playing with it. Let's make it 50 here. And that looks pretty good right there for a nice border. And now, of course, you can change the width of the border pretty easily. I've got the background black image set to 1280 and then the image itself set to 1260. If I wanted to make a thicker border, I could do something like 1220 here. And now the photo itself will be smaller here, allowing for more of a border. And then you can adjust the corners too. So next, let's add a caption. Let's look for ask, and we'll ask for input here. I'll add that here at the bottom. Ask for text with prompt, caption, and we show more and set a default answer if we want. Let's look for overlay, and overlay text is another option here. I'll double click on that, and what text do we overlay? Well, I'm going to control click on that and insert variable, and then use selected variable. Make sure we get the right thing to provide input on what image. It's the output of this. Well, we haven't stored the output of that anywhere. So let's set a variable there. And we'll call this new pic with caption. And it's the output of this. So now we can control click on there and say put the caption on top of the output from this. And then we do at, and we'll do bottom center. Show more allows us to see all the different things we can do. We can set the font size, alignment, let's center it. We can set the color. Let's do something brighter. We can do an outline there to make it stand out, so black border around it. Tons of different things that you could set and play around with. And you want to do that to get the look that you want. We could even, bottom center offset by, 10% here, so it's not all the way at the bottom. Now let's run this, and it's going to ask for an image like before. It's going to ask for a caption. We'll use the default text there, and the result is like that. So probably something brighter, or maybe we can change this. Instead of having the border be black, let's have the border be white. And now it looks a little bit better like that. So you can keep playing around with that. So now you've got something here that you can quick look like that, and you could share right there from quick look. So it's already kind of useful. But let's save it. One way to save it that's really easy is go to the settings here, and then let's set this up so that it's used as a quick action and it provides output. So the output's actually going to appear as a file. So now let's hide that, and let's go here. We can get rid of this pixel now. We're done with it. We have it inside of the shortcut as that base64 text, and we can actually copy and paste that and use that in other shortcuts later on. Let's take this. I'm going to control click on it, go to quick actions, customize the quick actions. We'll see here that border and caption it's there. So now we can go back into quick actions, border and caption, and it's going to take this as the input here. So it's not going to prompt us for it anymore because it has that already, but it is going to prompt us for this. Done. And then the result is going to be output. Because we had this provide output checked right there, it's actually going to output. It's going to be an ugly name here. because it doesn't know what else to name it. So it's actually choosing bytes at the beginning of this file as the name. So at this point you can just return and name it whatever you want. And you've got your finished image here. But in the interest of learning more about using shortcuts, let me show you how to create a file from that automatically. So let's go and look for file details, get details of files, and put that here at the very beginning. So instead of getting file size, let's get the name. So we're getting the name from the shortcut input. We're going to search for parent, get parent directory. So we'll put that here and get parent directory of what? Let's clear that and instead say shortcut input. Get the parent directory of shortcut input. So we have the name now. We got parent directory. So now all the way at the bottom here, you can see it added stop and output image with text. That we got automatically when we clicked provide output. Let's turn that off. Instead, let's go here and let's make sure this is a good file format. Let's search for JPEG and use convert image and put that at the bottom. Convert image with text, the result of this, to a JPEG, and we could set the quality. Now we have a JPEG there. Let's do save and we'll do save file. Add that at the bottom. Save the converted image. Show more. Ask where to save. So this can prompt us where to save and give it a name. That's good. But what if we just said no, we don't want that, and instead said here under subpath, we can control click there and go in and say that we want to use select variable, go all the way to the top here and get the name. So let's go back in there and we have name, but I'm going to put dash new after it like that. So it's going to save it but with dash new. Then we're going to change where it saves. Instead of saving to the shortcuts folder, the default place, we'll control click on that and set magic variable and use the parent directory there. So save converted image to parent directory with the same name but dash new after it. Now let's give this a try. I'll control click on this, quick actions, border and caption. It's going to ask the first time here if it's okay to access the desktop folder since we're saving there. Then it's going to ask for the caption. And then you can see it does everything and saves it out with the same name dash new after it. Very nice. Notice here you get white corners here instead of the transparent ones because JPEG images don't support transparency. So if you need transparency, you may not want to convert this to JPEG but instead convert it to PNG or just leave this out altogether. But the white should work really well on social media sites and such where the background is white anyway, so people won't even notice it. They just get these nice rounded corners and image and whatever text you want. And now you can reuse this over and over again anytime you want to create an image. Make this text smaller and closer to the bottom if you like, and it could be captions instead of large text like this. So you can easily and quickly take an image, resize it, put this border around it, and add some text to the bottom describing what's in the photo and get this output here that you can then upload or email or do whatever you want with. I hope you learned a lot of different skills here in making this shortcut. I'll put a copy of the shortcut for you to download at the post page at MACMOST.com so you can compare it with what you're working on if you're not getting the same results. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.